and thank you for joining today's conference, Maximum Import Capability Enhancements, Draft Final Tariff Language and Draft BPM Language. Before we begin, please ensure you have opened the chat panel by using the associated icon located at the bottom of your screen. If you require any technical assistance, please send a chat to the event producer. Please note that all audio lines will be muted until the Q&A portions of the call. We will give you instructions on how to ask a question at those times. To submit a written question, you may select all panelists from the drop-down menu in the chat panel, enter your question in the message box provided, and send. With that, I'll turn the call over to Jimmy Bashara. Please go ahead.
Thanks so much, Kira. Good morning, everyone. Jimmy Bashara with the ISO Stakeholder Engagement Group. Thank you for joining. As Kira mentioned, we are here to discuss the Maximum Import Capability Enhancements, better known as MIC enhancements, revised draft tariff language, and draft BPM language. Appreciate you all joining us virtually before a holiday. Just a few housekeeping reminders to stress. As always, this call is being recorded for informational and convenience purposes. Any related transcriptions should not be reprinted without the ISO's permission. And this meeting, as all of our calls, are structured to stimulate dialogue and engage different perspectives. And we please kindly request that you keep comments professional and respectful and try and be brief and refrain from repeating what has already been said so we can manage the time efficiently, although I expect us to be good on time today. We do have about 4 or 5 different deck materials to go through, so you can bear with us as we manage that as well. As Kira briefly mentioned, instructions for raising your hand. As most people know by now, hopefully, there's a virtual raise hand icon that you would click to get in the queue. We do prefer verbal questions, although we'll watch out for chat questions as well. And if you dialed in by phone separately, you would push #2 to enter the queue. As you can see, here is a typical display of our stakeholder process. This has already been board approved, so thank you for participating up until now. And this call, as mentioned, will be to go over what we'll be ultimately filing with FERC. So we appreciate your engagement as we do that today. And then ultimately, after FERC hopefully approves the changes, it enters our BPM revisions and market sim stages before ultimately going live. And just a breakdown of our agenda before we get started, I kick it over to Jordan. We're going to go over our revised draft sections first, starting with section 24 and then section 40, and Jordan will walk us through those. And then we'll go through the BPM draft language, starting with the draft transmission planning process, or TPP BPM, and the draft reliability requirements BPM, and then an open discussion, which we invite questions and dialogue, and then finally concluding with the initiative schedule and next steps. And with that, I'll hand it over to Jordan.
Thank you, Jimmy. So we're going to go ahead and walk through the tariff first. So Jimmy can go ahead and pull that up, and we'll just go straight to the portions that are changed. I think this is the first set of track changes, Jimmy. So just I'll start off kind of generally speaking here. We did get some comments on the tariff that we proposed before, and we created several clarifications based on those comments we received. I also received a few comments on section 40 specifically prior to this meeting, which I believe those are the clarification changes as well, and we will intend to incorporate those to the extent possible. So kind of with that said, I think we have probably not a lot of substantive changes to go through here today, but we'll just more go through kind of, where the tariff is at and the minor changes that we did based on the last round. Okay, so this first one here is just a very minor change. Obviously, it's changing where the and is. Jimmy, if you can page down a little bit, or am I driving it now? Looks like I am. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you can scroll down. There should be a scroll bar right here on the right where the audience and anyone can see the entire page, because I'm seeing the whole page.
Yeah, I'm seeing the whole page as well. So there were no changes here in this first section. Jimmy, I can't from here go track to like the next set of changes. Are you able to do that on your side rather than me just kind of scrolling down?
Yeah, I'm scrolling down there. Okay, it's a little laggy, I think.
Yeah, this is the section, I think, 24.3.5. So 24.3.5, we did end up making a few clarifying changes to this section. I think the major one was to subsection B, where we clarified that owners of new transmission projects can request a MIC expansion pursuant to this section. Other than that, we did not make any changes here. I a request that we, I guess, broaden the section a little bit to include specifically that LSCs with pre-RA import commitment resources that exceed their pre-RA import commitment allocations should be able to qualify for a MIC expansion request. And we do believe that that is a bit overbroad for what we're trying to do here. An LLC that's in that situation wouldn't necessarily be able to request a MIC expansion because they may have the actual import allocation based on remaining import allocation to accommodate their pre-RA import commitments. So we do believe that was a bit overbroad. It did not make sense. And then I think, Jimmy, is there other, I think that about wraps it up for the changes in section 24. I don't believe we had any other section 24. Maybe we can take questions on section 24 first before we move on to section 40.
Thanks. Yeah, transitioning the slides. Thanks for bearing with me, folks. Thanks, Jordan. That was very efficiently put. I do see a private chat message from attendees saying they can't see the whole page. Again, there should be a scroll bar on the right, so you should be able to see the whole page if you just utilize that. But let me know if you still can. And I'm not getting any further chat questions, but Kara, I'll defer to you. I don't see anyone in the queue, but unless you're seeing something.
Okay, so something from me though, Jimmy. So I didn't realize. So Jimmy's getting us to the right page of the document, and then once we all have to scroll individually ourselves to see the full page. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing on my WebEx. I'll defer to Kara if Spencer seeing something else, but yeah, you should be able to see the whole page as I'm going through each page.
Yeah, so if you can't see the whole page, you can just go to the content viewer and scroll down.
Okay, well, so if there are no questions on section 24, we can go ahead and talk about section 40. Okay, I think we might want to start on the page right before.
There we go.
And everybody will have to scroll down to the bottom of this section here. So again, this is kind of the main changes in section 40, and we did not make a lot of changes here. There were clarifying edits that we made, and the nature of some errors in the tariff that we had there. So I'm not going to go through what changed here, but it was very minor for the most part. I will say though, this is one of the sections that we did get the initial comments before this meeting, and those are also in the nature of edits, and I think that they're well founded, and we will be finding edits here, and those are really the nature of kind of cleaning this up and just making the language tight. In several places, I think we prefer to things general, such as third line up from the top right here, we say only for part that was denied. We want to make of the contracts that we're talking about, and other things like that that are just making sure we're cleaning it up and being very specific with the language. So we're going to make those changes. Want to page down to the next page, Jimmy? And so, yeah, this is the conclusion of the section 40 section. And again, minor edits here, nothing major. And then again, in the section that we have up on this page, again, we did not have any edits here, I don't believe, in the last round. This is cleanup in the first round, so it's going to stay the way it is. I believe that's it for section 40. Well, one thing, I'll just go back real quickly. You don't have to go back to the text, but on section 24, we obviously about actually including import capability expansion, for requesting additional deliverability through this process in this stakeholder process. We've talked about, we're going to include that within another stakeholder process in the future. The MIC expansion request that we have in section 24 here is really just making sure that we're using the transmission that we have available to the extent possible. It's not about actually expanding the transmission grid. So with that clarification, I'll take any other questions on the table, section 24 or section 40.
Thanks a lot, Jordan. Not seeing any questions in the chat. And I don't think we have anything in the queue unless I'm wrong on that, Kira.
No questions in the queue at this time.
Great. Thanks a lot, Jordan. Appreciate going over all those changes. And with that, we'll go over to the next portion of our presentation, which is the BPM language. Pull those up. I'm not sure if you want me to start with the transmission or reliability, but I'll go ahead with the TPP whenever you're ready.
Morning, everybody. This is Catalin. Thanks for joining us. You can also see an entire page if you use the Zoom out button. You can see the whole page, but you can scroll through the page as well. There's a scroller on the right-hand side. So the top is going to be a new revision. Yeah, keep going down, Jim. Thank you. All right, so the idea here is that if anybody wishes to submit MIC expansion request, they will be submitted as a comment to the TPP study plan at the same time where we get the economic study plan request. Let's continue to go down here. This states the same thing, that basically we would be considering economic study plan request as well as maximum import expansion request at the same time. This just includes what's in the study plan. Obviously, in the study plan, we would have what maximum import expansion requests we have received. Yeah, this is the stakeholder input. So you would be submitting economic study planning request as well as maximum import capability expansion request as comments to the study plan. So here we're going to take the comments that includes the economic request as well as maximum import capability expansion request, and we're going to process them. So basically here it just says that we're going to be performing deliverability studies in order to accommodate maximum import capability expansion requests. This have to be included in numerous deliverability studies we do, not just for the year ahead, but for the long term as well. So we would be doing that where and when is appropriate through all the studies. We did got one comment here, and I just want to let everybody know that even though it's not crystal clear that the maximum import capability expansion requests are included as economic requests, if they trigger new transmission, they will, because we have to check to make sure that transmission is economic for the ISO repairs, but it doesn't have any higher priority. We will add some language here. Just want to let everybody know that this request won't have any higher priority than any other economic study planning request. So they'll all be in the same bucket, and the ISO will be considering them in order to come up with the ones that are high importance and the ones that we kind of move immediately forward with. So that being stated, we will clarify that here, that the make expansion request will act as economic study request as well. So here I just said that how that we're gonna evaluate when we receive the request if it's valid request. So if you have any financial commitments towards serving ISO load, then they will be considered valid, and then we would be moving forward. And in the RR BPM, it is explained how we're gonna consider them in make expansion. So I'm gonna explain all the details when we go through the other BPM. But the idea here is that we do have a process how to check to make sure. So just because you submit an expansion request, it doesn't automatically trigger an expansion. We have to make sure we actually are short. So then we're gonna check through the RR BPM to make sure we're short. If we are short, then an expansion request, it's basically, then we need to actually increase the number. If we're not sure, that we don't need to increase the number. So I'll explain that in the RR BPM, how we decide if we're short or not. And also in the RR BPM, it explains how this will be translated. This request will also go into the GIP. It will be tangled with GIP, because once we receive these requests, they would have to be logged in versus the GIP. These won't have any higher priority than the GIP. So basically, we have to log them in at some point in time. I think this is all the changes that we have for the TPP BPM. Are there any questions? Ravi has a question.
Hi, this is Ravi. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, good morning. I had a few questions, comments. One you just covered, just saying that there will be some clarifying language about the economic study requests that are triggered by the NIC expansion. So I think you're already going to be covering that topic. The second one is in section 3223, the new section added, if you want to scroll there. And yes, in this section, so this is the information that will be required to confirm the validity of an expansion request. And it says about halfway through, the request must include information about existing contracts, either resource adequacy or transmission, or their financial commitments. In the case of the transmission developer, I'm not sure what contract would really exist. So do you have any thoughts on that for the developers of new transmission, either connecting to the ISO or connecting to the adjacent balancing authority, what type of evidence they would produce?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have all the specificity at this point in time, but I'm sure there are some contracts that have to be in certain WAC study. They have to go through through a bunch of other stuff. So I'm sure that we can come up with something. We didn't want to be super specific here, but the idea is that they do have to have some commitments they made on building this transmission to serve ISO load, and you want to make sure that we look at some of that.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess you could go either direction here. You could leave it kind of a little bit vague, and then that gives you, latitude to evaluate what comes in, case by case, or you could be more specific and, give explicit types of evidence. But yeah, the things I'm thinking of wouldn't necessarily be contracts. They could be studies. They could, projects that are in certain queues. But yeah, we might suggest maybe a little more specificity in our comments.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
Then the next question is on 3.2.6. And here, I'm not sure how this section, I guess, interacts with the previous one. And also because this section lists those criteria for the legitimate reasons, would it be easier to just link it back to the tariff language? As we saw in the tariff, I think it's 24.3.5 is where you have these, the reasons for legitimate requests. So would it be easier to just link back there than have it in two places? Because I even noticed the wording isn't exactly the same.
Yeah, you could submit that comment in writing too. We'll think about it.
Okay. Or I'm just asking if there's a particular reason to have it in both places. Does anything come to mind?
I thought personally, I thought it would be easier if it's here as well. Just when you submit, so you know exactly what we're going to be looking at, rather than flipping back and forth. But flipping back and forth is fine too.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we may put something to that effect in our comments. Okay, and that's all I had.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks. Good questions. Thanks, Catalin. I don't see any further questions, so appreciate that. And Catalin, whenever you're ready, I can move on to the next BPM section.
Go ahead.
Oh, it looks like that's the end of the document. I didn't notice any. Catalin, which page do you want me to jump to on this?
I think it's section 6.
That's the end of this document. Let me pull up, I guess, the online version. Sorry about that, folks. Give me 1 second. All right, thanks for your patience, everyone, as we're switching format. Looks like the Word document that I'm displaying, for some reason, it's cutting off from the online version that we have. So I'm giving Kiera time to pull up the PDF version that I sent her as a backup. So just 1 second as we transition to that.
Which page, Jimmy?
I think it's around page, I think it's probably after page 60. Should be in red line version, so might maybe slide down a little bit. It's probably gonna find a red line version. Yeah, right here, right.
Yeah.
Is this the right page?
Section. Yeah, that's the right page. Thank you. So deliverability of imports. So this is the posting requirement. We updated the language here to make sure that the posting it has been included here. Remember, there was some transparency and posting issues. Next page. So here we're just making sure that we do process the MIC expansion request, that we include them in the TPP studies. Next slide, please. Okay, so here it's how we're going to evaluate if we have enough remaining import capability vis-a-vis the target MIC values, and this will include the MIC expansion request. So next page, maybe I think we have a better view on the next page of it. Yeah, so the idea here is that you're going to be submitting the MIC expansion request, and first we look how much unlocked, which is called remaining import capability, we have. So if we have more remaining import capability than you're requesting, then we actually don't need to expand MIC. But if we don't have remaining import capability to either meet the TPP portfolio or plus these MIC expansion requests, then we do need an expansion. And then we gonna include them in deliverability studies, in all the deliverability studies. And here it just states that the new target MIC would be whatever it's already locked. So we know whatever is locked with ETCs, TORs, pre-R import commitment, and new use import commitments. Those are all locked numbers. So we know how much the locked numbers are, and then we're going to add how much is required for the policy reason and how much is required because of these MIC expansion requests, and that gives you the total. So we need to be able to expand to that total number. So once we figure out exactly what that target number is by adding all these things, then that needs to run in the deliverability studies. Next slide, please. This is not really a change here. This is just some clarification. Then we have to model the next section. It says modeling expanding MIC values in GIP. So we will be, taking these expanded MIC values and we're going to plug them into our cluster studies. And then we have to figure out if all of them together now work out. If they do, great. If they don't, then we at least we know where to queue these expansion requests in, and that's how it iterates through. So we're going to study it for the next year, and we're going to study it for future years as well. That's it. I don't think there's anything else, but you can try maybe one or two more pages. This one just explains how we go through the year. I just made a title. There used to be a title here. Somehow the title disappeared for resource transitions. So I just highlighted the title there. There is no real change here. Keep going down. Let's see if we have any more sections here or not, but I don't think we do. So there are no more changes here. And so that's all the red lines we have for now for BPM. Just for everybody to understand, we will have to go through the BP change management process once this gets in. So we're going to wait for your comments. You're going to give us some comments, and we'll incorporate as many as we can, and then we'll go through the BPA change management system. You will have 2 more times an opportunity to provide additional comments through the BPM change management system. So I know this is the first time you see this, but you will see it over and over again, and you'll have additional possibility to provide input. So that being stated, let's go through comments. I see Ravi has his hand up.
Yeah, hi, just a minor question on 6136, if you want to scroll there.
Thanks, Ravi. Kira, I'll give you time if you wouldn't mind scrolling back to the presentation. It will help you get back to that page. So there you go. One more.
Yeah.
There you go. You were on it. Yep. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, just my question was on the addition of that last red line, if they qualify, and I wasn't sure what that refers to. Can you expound on that at all?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I need to read the whole context here.
Repeat that.
Yeah, just asking about the meaning of why there's an addition of the if they qualify clause. It's referring to the additional network upgrades that come out of the JIP Phase 2 studies due to the expanded NIC values. It says they'll be evaluated in the next TPP cycle, and if they qualify, they may be approved as policy-driven transmission additions. So just asking, what would they be? What would the qualification be there?
Yeah, maybe qualification is the wrong word. I'll have to figure out. I think the intention was if they qualify, if they qualified, if they get selected or something. So when we go through the PPP policy-driven additions, there is a selection criteria, and so first we have to go through economic studies and a bunch of other stuff. I'll check. Put that in writing. You may have to either take it out or change the quality. It's not the qualification of the expansion, because that would be done before we even reach here. So if you wouldn't qualify, we wouldn't move forward with it. But it was meant for the TPP upgrades rather than this. But I'll see if I need to take it out or change the word there.
Okay, yeah, because it implies that there's some kind of criteria, other screens they have to pass. And I thought that at this point they would have already, passed the criteria screens.
Yeah, it wasn't referring to the screens. It was referring to the upgrades, but I'll maybe we need to take it out. I'll just put it in your comments, and I'll think a better way to deal with it or take it out.
Okay, thank you.
Again, Robbie, good question. Good catch. I don't see any further questions in the queue. And we do have a portion set aside, as mentioned, for general discussion. So maybe give another few seconds or a minute for questions, since we haven't received any further ones. But we are approaching the end of the session, everyone, and we appreciate having these collaborative discussions, part of our stakeholder process. And as Catalin and Jordan mentioned, please put anything else in writing if you didn't have a chance to mention it today, or if you want to think of anything else. As I'm giving time for folks to enter, I'll just go ahead with the schedule. As you can see, the FERC filing and PR submission and everything else, exact date is TBD. So you can stay tuned to any formal notices for those as we incorporate the feedback that we've heard today.
Yeah, right. Thank you. This is Catalin. So we will be waiting for your comments. The sections are rather small, so we do understand this is a short week, but we would like to file, as soon as possible, because usually takes up to 90 days for FERC to get back to us. And that study plan usually comes in February, March timeframe, and we want to be able to receive your comments. So we would like to file as quick as possible, and that's why we would like everybody, if you could please send us the comments by December 7th. As you saw, the changes are rather minimal everywhere here and there, so I think it shouldn't take too much time to go through them. Some of you already have the drafts because you send them to us, so we know exactly what to expect from you. I really appreciate that. We'd really appreciate if you can send us your comments by December 7th, and we'll try to incorporate as many of your comments as we can. And then we'll do the FERC filing and the PRR filings. Our intention is to get everything approved by FERC before we put the study plan out. But in case we do not, we will still want everybody to submit the MIC expansion request to us. And once the tariff becomes effective, we will take a look at all those comments that came to us and we'll process them. So that should not stop you in case FERC says, no, you know what, I can only approve this on March 10 or 13 or something like that. And the comments need to come in by March 10 or something, a few days before that. We will remind you to submit this as well. And then once we have an active tariff, we would include your comments, your MIC expansion requests. So that, the reason is we're very tight on time here, and we would like to file in early December as soon as possible after we incorporate some of your comments. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, Catalin. It's very good to clarify all of that. I know we get questions sometimes about how we're going to move forward with FERC and the timing and everything, so I hope that helps clarify further for folks. And I'm seeing a question. There's no template on the website yet. We are going to post that shortly. And as you can see, questions by December 7th hopefully gives you time during the break, and we will get the template up this morning, if not before end of day, so you can look out for that. And with that, thank you again, Robbie, for the questions. And this was recorded. Look for the recording to be posted within the next couple of business days, hopefully before the break. And hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Thanks so much.